Lasst uns mit einem Gebet anfangen.
Dear Heavenly Father,
Lieber himmlischer Vater,
Lord, we thank you for this new week,
Herr, wir danken dir für diese neue Woche.
and we want to pray now as you bless us with the bread from heaven.
Wir wollen jetzt beten, wenn du uns mit dem Brot vom Himmel segnest,
You would help us to be attentive,
dass du uns hilfst, aufmerksam zu sein,
to hear your voice speaking to us,
dass wir deine Stimme hören, wie sie zu uns spricht,
and to understand your truth through your principles.
und dass wir deine Wahrheit verstehen durch deine Prinzipien.
And help us, Lord, to be open to be corrected,
Und hilf uns, Herr, dass wir offen sind, korrigiert zu werden,
that all these things might come together and we can see the oneness of the message.
dass alle Dinge zusammenkommen können und wir die Einheit der Botschaft sehen können.
So please help me now as I open your word,
Bitte hilf mir jetzt, wenn ich dein Wort öffne,
and may you bless your people.
und mögest du dein Volk segnen.
And we ask this in the name of Jesus.
Und wir bitten das im Namen Jesu.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so last night we were looking at the road to Emmaus and also the road to Damascus.
Gestern Abend haben wir uns die Straße zu Emmaus und auch die Straße zu Damaskus angeschaut.
And when we were looking at the road to Damascus afterwards, I had some thoughts on that.
Und als wir uns die Straße zu Damaskus angeschaut hatten, hatte ich später noch ein paar Gedanken dazu.
So we see that it's really down near the end of the trial that you have this revelation, right?
Wir haben gesehen, dass es eigentlich am Ende, so nahe von dem Ende dieser Prüfung ist, wo man die Offenbarung hat.
Okay, and based upon that thought, I also thought that maybe that must be where the revelation is that Saul had. Right?
Und basierend auf diesem Gedanken hatte ich auch gedacht, dass dann dort die Offenbarung ist, die auch Saulus hatte.
And Lawrence earlier, he had put these points in place here. We had this suddenly.
Und zuvor hatte Lorenz auch diese Punkte gesetzt. Zum Beispiel hatte man hier das plötzlich.
Okay, marking the point where Christ comes and touches Jacob on the shoulder.
Markiert den Punkt, wenn Christus kommt und Jakob an seiner Schulter berührt.
Okay, and it was midnight.
Und es war Mitternacht.
Right. And we saw that on the road to Damascus, it was suddenly at midday where he has this revelation, right?
Wir haben gesehen, bei der Straße zu Damaskus, da war es auch plötzlich und Mitternacht, wo er diese Offenbarung hat. Mittag.
Okay. It's the same point prophetic.
Aber das ist derselbe Punkt prophetisch.
And then Saul is brought into this experience for 3 days. Right?
Dann wird Saulus in diese Erfahrung 3 Tage lang gebracht.
However, it's on the third day that Ananias comes to him and baptizes him, right?
Aber es ist am 3. Tag, wenn Ananias kommt und ihn tauft.
And it says in the Spirit of prophecy, Ananias was representing Christ, right?
Und im Geist der Weissagung sagt es, dass Ananias Christus dargestellt
And
hat.
it also marks the place where his blindness was removed,
Und das
right?
markiert auch diesen Ort, wo dann seine Blindheit hinweggenommen wird.
Okay, and the blindness was removed from the 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus when Christ came in and broke bread with them, right?
Und die Blindheit wurde auch hinweggenommen, wo dann diese Jünger, die zur Emmausstraße waren, als Christus zu ihnen kam und das Brot mit ihnen gebrochen hat.
Okay, so I had this struggle. Is Ananias, right, coming in to the house where Saul was because he was told to go to his house, right?
Und dann hatte ich diesen Gedanken, ob Ananias jetzt auch zu dem Haus von Saulus kommt.
Is this the same as when Christ came into the house of the 2 disciples?
Ob das dasselbe ist, wie als Christus zum Haus von den Jüngern gegangen ist.
Okay, and if that be the case, right, then what does this revelation mark here at the beginning, right?
Wenn das der Fall ist, was markiert dann die Offenbarung hier am Anfang?
Okay, then I thought about it. I thought, well, Saul, he's not in present truth, right?
Und dann habe ich darüber nachgedacht, denn Saulus ist ja nicht in der gegenwärtigen Wahrheit.
He was an enemy of God's people, and he was trying to do them harm, right?
Er war ein Feind von Gottes Volk und hat versucht, ihnen Schaden zuzufügen.
However, the Lord was trying to save him, right?
Aber der Herr hat ihn versucht zu retten.
Okay, so who else has a vision or a dream here at the beginning?
Wer noch hat hier eine Vision oder einen Traum am Anfang?
Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar, right?
Pharao und Nebukadnezar.
And they're also both enemies of God's people and seeking to do them harm, right?
Und sie sind auch beide Feinde von Gottes Volk und versuchen ihnen Schaden zuzufügen.
And was the Lord trying to save them?
Und hat der Herr versucht, sie zu retten.
Yes, so I thought, well, there's a parallel thought, external and internal, right?
Ja, und da habe ich eben gedacht, das ist ein paralleler Gedanke, das Externe und das Interne.
And there's also Pilate, right?
Es gibt auch Pilatus.
Pilate was at the point where Christ was, he was being delivered. He's delivered up before Pilate.
Und das hat diesen Punkt markiert, wo Christus vor Pilatus ausgeliefert wurde.
Okay, and his wife has this dream to warn him that he doesn't do this act that he was going to do, right?
Seine Frau hat dann diesen Traum, um ihn zu warnen, dass er nicht diese Handlung ausführen würde, die er tun wollte.
Okay, so I'm just putting those thoughts out there that I'm more inclined to go with this thought that Saul's, who became Paul's, 3 days are representing this. Right?
Ich erwähne jetzt diesen Gedanken, weil ich bin mehr dazu geneigt, dass wenn Saulus, der Paulus markiert, dass seine 3 Tage das hier markieren.
Okay, and on the 3rd day, Ananias represents Christ, comes into him and baptizes him. That's where he gets delivered from his blindness.
Und am 3. Tag, wenn Ananias, der Christus darstellt, ihn tauft, das markiert den Punkt, wenn er von seiner Blindheit befreit wird.
Okay, but anyway, that's just a thought. These things will become clearer the more we study, the more we can prove these things.
Und das ist jetzt nur ein Gedanke, aber diese Dinge werden klarer werden, je mehr wir studieren und je klarer es wird.
Okay, now we was looking at this also, that an understanding that here is the, here's the point where Jerusalem, should I say the point where God's people face death, right, at the crisis, right?
Und hier ist dieser Punkt, wenn Jerusalem, also Gottes Volk, dem Tod begegnen in dieser Krise.
Okay, and this marks the point, right, because it's this 3rd day that you get delivered,
Und
right?
das markiert den Punkt, weil es ist eben der 3. Tag, wo du befreit wirst.
Okay, so if you just go to this first quote that I've posted,
Gehen wir zu dem ersten Zitat, das ich gepostet habe.
and it's taken from Great Controversy, in the time of the plagues,
Und
right?
das ist vom großen Kampf entnommen in der Zeit der Plage.
It says, when the protection of human laws shall be withdrawn from those who honor the law of God, there will be in different lands a simultaneous movement for their destruction. As the time appointed in the decree draws near, the people will conspire to root out the hated sect. It will be determined to strike in one night a decisive blow, which shall utterly silence the voice of dissent and reproof. The people of God, some in prison cells, some hidden in solitary retreats in the forests and the mountains, still plead for divine protection. So what are they doing?
Was tun sie?
Yeah, they're sighing and crying, they're pleading for deliverance, right?
Sie seufzen und weinen, also sie flehen um Befreiung.
Still plead for divine protection, while in every quarter companies of armed men, urged on by hosts of evil angels, are preparing for the work of death. It is now in the hour of utmost extremity that the God of Israel will interpose for the deliverance of his chosen, saith the Lord. Right? So this is Jacob's experience, right?
Das ist Jakobs Erfahrung.
Jacob was also praying, right? He knew that Esau was coming with 400 men.
Jakob hat auch gebetet, er wusste, dass Esau mit 400 Männern kam.
Okay, it says, "Ye shall have a song as in the night, when a holy solemnity is kept, and gladness of heart, as when one goeth to come into the mountains of the Lord, to the mighty one of Israel. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shall show the lightning down of his arm with the indignation of his anger, and with the flame of a devouring fire, with scattering and tempest and hailstones. With shouts of triumph, jeering and imprecation, throngs of evil men are about to rush upon their prey, when lo, a dense blackness deeper than the darkness of the night falls upon the earth. Then a rainbow shining with the glory from the throne of God spans the heavens and seems to encircle each praying company. The angry multitudes are suddenly arrested." What are they?
Was sind sie?
Suddenly arrested, right?
Plötzlich in Schach gehalten.
Their mocking cries die away. The objects of their murderous rage are forgotten. With fearful forebodings they gaze upon the symbol of God's covenant and long to be shielded from its overpowering brightness. By the people of God, a voice clear and melodious is heard saying, "Look up," and lifting their eyes to the heavens, they behold the bow of promise. So if you just go to Luke 21.
Wenn ihr zu Lukas 21 geht,
and verse 20.
Vers 20.
Now this took place when those people came to rush upon their prey, right?
Das fand statt, als die Leute auf ihre Beute sich stürzen wollten.
Okay, it says, "And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh." And if you go down to verse 28.
Geht zu Vers 28.
"And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh." Right? Okay, so where were we? Right? Yes, the fourth paragraph, right?
Wir waren beim 4. Absatz.
It says, "By the people of God a voice clear and melodious is heard saying, Look up, and lifting their eyes to the heaven, they behold the bow of promise. The black angry clouds that covered the firmament are parted, and like Stephen they look up steadfastly into heaven and see the glory of God and the Son of Man seated upon his throne. In his divine form they discern the marks of his humiliation, and from his lips they hear the request presented before his Father and the holy angels." So what would this illustrate now?
Und es würde jetzt das darstellen.
The revelation, right?
Die Offenbarung.
I will that they also, whom thou hast given me, be with me where I am. Again a voice, musical and triumphant, is heard saying, they come, holy, harmless, undefiled. They have kept the word of my patience. They shall walk among the angels. And the pale, quivering lips of those who have held fast their faith utter a shout of victory. It is at midnight that God manifests his power for the deliverance of his people. The sun appears, shining in its strength. Signs and wonders follow in quick succession. The wicked look with terror and amazement upon the scene, while the righteous behold the solemn joy, the tokens of their deliverance. Everything in nature seems turned out of its course. The streams cease to flow. Dark, heavy clouds come up and clash against each other. In the midst of the angry heavens is one clear space of indescribable glory, whence comes the voice of God, like the sound of many waters, saying, "It is done." Right? So it brings you to this point, right?
Das bringt dich zu diesem Punkt.
Okay. So this experience here we know is midnight, right?
Wir wissen, dass diese Erfahrung hier Mitternacht ist.
These people are coming up to murder God's people, and he stops them, right?
Diese Leute kommen herauf, Gottes Volk umzubringen, aber stoppt sie.
So that, in my understanding, this would represent where they're coming to destroy Jerusalem, but the Lord doesn't allow them to do this.
Und in meinem Verständnis ist es, dass sie jetzt kommen, um Jerusalem zu zerstören, aber der Herr erlaubt ihnen nicht, das zu tun.
Okay, and if you just go to Revelation 16, verse 17.
Und geht zur Offenbarung 16, Vers 17.
Just that's because this is what it quoted in the this is what it referenced in the quote.
Weil darauf hat es ein Zitat Bezug genommen.
It says, "And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, 'It is done.'" And we're right here, right?
Und das ist hier.
Yes. So what's beginning?
Was fängt jetzt also an?
Yes. The seventh plague is what's beginning. That's what it says there, right?
Die 7. Plage fängt hier an, das sagt es ja hier.
Okay. So now, and we know, right, that the seventh plague is a short period of time, right?
Wir wissen, dass die 7. Plage eine kurze Zeitspanne ist.
Okay, just go to the next paragraph.
Geht zum nächsten Absatz im Zitat.
It says, "That voice shakes the heavens and the earth." Are we there, Marius?
Sind wir da?
Okay. Go to Joel.
Gehen wir zu Joel.
Let's begin by going to go to chapter 1.
Geht zu Kapitel 1.
Okay. It says, verse 5.
Und Vers 5.
It says, "Awake, ye drunkards, and weep and howl, all ye drinkers of wine, because the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. For a nation is come up upon my land, strong and without number, whose teeth are the teeth of a lion. He hath the cheek teeth of a great lion. He hath laid my vine waste, and barked my fig tree. He hath made it clean bare, and casted away the branches thereof are made white. Lament like a virgin, girded with sackcloth for the husband of her youth." So, in the narrative, where did God's people begin to put on the sackcloth?
Also in der prophetischen Erzählung, wo fängt Gottes Volk an, Sacktuch anzuziehen?
Okay, give me an example.
Am Anfang der Box, gib mir ein Beispiel.
In the book of Esther, right?
Im Buch Esther.
So Mordecai, he perceives the decree and he puts on sackcloth and ashes, right?
Also Mordecai erkennt das Dekret und er zieht Sacktuch und Asche an.
And it's the third day to get delivered, right?
Und am 3. Tag werden sie befreit.
Esther touches the golden scepter, right?
Esther berührt das goldene Zepter.
Okay, so the point is Joel has been raised up in a period prior to this, right?
Der Punkt ist, Joel wurde in einer Zeitspanne davor aufgerichtet.
Okay, so we need to understand on our line, where is this point prior to this group of people being tested where these prophets are raised up, right?
Wir müssen verstehen, wo auf unserer Linie, also bevor diese Gruppe von Leuten geprüft werden, wo diese Propheten aufgerichtet werden.
Okay, because if you go to chapter 2,
Wenn wir zu Kapitel 2 gehen,
it says, "Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand." What's coming?
was kommt?
The day of the Lord.
Der
Right?
Tag des Herrn.
Right, so let's have a look at what day is coming. Just go to verse 10.
Jetzt schauen wir uns an, welcher Tag kommt. Gehen wir zu Vers 10.
It says, "The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining." Right, so what is that there in verse 10?
Was ist das in Vers 10?
Right, so just go back to the quote, the very first line of that paragraph we read.
Erschütterung von Himmel und Erde. Und jetzt gehen wir nochmal zurück zum Zitat, zum ersten Satz.
It says, that voice shakes the heavens and the earth. There is a mighty earthquake, right?
Es gibt ein heftiges Erdbeben.
Now, think about that. Where did we put this earthquake?
Denkt darüber nach, wo haben wir dieses Erdbeben hingesetzt?
No. The other day I was doing this point. I mean, it's true what you're referring to, but
Das ist in Offenbarung 11, stimmt.
what's here?
Aber was ist hier?
Yeah, there's an earthquake when he goes into the tomb, right?
Es gibt ein Erdbeben, wenn er in das Grab geht.
I'll just put EQ there for earthquake, right?
Jetzt einfach EQ für Erdbeben.
And there's an earthquake at the end,
Es
right?
gibt ein Erdbeben am Ende.
Because it's Passover where they get delivered from their sin.
Das Passa, wenn sie von ihrer Sünde befreit
Okay,
werden.
but 3 days later they get delivered from their physical captivity,
Aber
right?
3 Tage später werden sie von ihrer physischen Gefangenschaft befreit.
Right? Yes?
Richtig?
Okay, then give me acknowledgement that you're following. Otherwise, I don't know. You just sit there looking at me blank. So, the point I'm making, he says, that voice shakes the heavens and the earth. There is a mighty earthquake, right? So, I'm saying that this earthquake here is this one, right?
Ich sage, dieses Erdbeben, Zitat ist das hier,
Where the heavens and the earth shake,
wo
right?
Himmel und Erde erschüttert werden.
And if you just go back to Joel chapter 2 and verse 10
Gehen wir nochmal zurück zu Joel 2 und Vers 10
and verse 11.
und Vers 11.
And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? So what's he doing there?
Was macht er hier?
Yes, upon whom?
Führt das Gericht über wen aus?
Upon his people, right?
Über sein Volk.
So it's the execution of the judgment upon Jerusalem, right?
Das ist die Ausführung des Gerichts über Jerusalem.
It's the day of the Lord,
Der Tag des Herrn.
right? And there's an earthquake,
Es
right?
gibt ein Erdbeben.
Shaking of the heavens and the earth, right?
Erschütterung von Himmel und Erde.
Yes? So
Ja.
I'll just also put heavens and earth, right?
Jetzt auch Himmel und Erde hin.
Yes? Okay, so we know, right, that when you go to chapter 3,
Und wir wissen, wenn man zu Kapitel 3 geht,
okay, chapter 3 is now talking about this punishment that's going to come upon the Gentiles,
dann
right?
spricht Kapitel 3 über die Bestrafung, die über die Heiden kommen wird.
Okay, now remember, God's people are not set free fully from captivity until when?
Und denkt daran, Gottes Volk wird nicht vollständig von der Gefangenschaft befreit bis
What
wann?
event has to take place first?
Welches Ereignis muss zuerst stattfinden?
Yes, so
Die
just
Nation
keep
soll
your
gerichtet
place in
werden.
Joel, go to Genesis 15.
Haltet euren Finger hier in Joel, gehen wir zu 1. Mose 15.
We have to look at all these things very, very closely.
Wir
Right?
müssen uns die Dinge ganz genau anschauen.
In verse 13.
1. Mose 15, Vers 13.
It says, And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. Right? So he has to judge the nation that kept him in bondage.
Er
Right?
muss also die Nation richten, die sie in Knechtschaft gehalten hat.
Right? And second witness, go to Jeremiah chapter 25.
Und noch ein zweiter Zeuge geht zu Jeremia 25.
In verse 11.
Und Vers 11.
It says, and this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon, and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity, and the land of the Chaldeans will make it perpetual desolations. Okay? So, it's the same point, right? It's when Babylon got punished, right, that God's people were able to be set free.
Und das ist derselbe Punkt. Also als Babylon bestraft wurde, war Gottes Volk in der Lage, befreit zu werden.
Okay, so let's parallel the other 70 years with that.
Lass uns die andere 70 Jahre damit parallel setzen.
Go to Jeremiah 29.
Geht zu Jeremia 29.
Verse 10.
Und Vers 10.
It says, for thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you, and perform my good word towards you, in causing you to return to this place. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord God, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Okay? And so, and if you just, verse 12.
Lest auf Vers 12.
Then ye shall call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you, and ye shall seek me and find me when ye search me with all your heart. Right? Okay, and he says, and I will be found of you, saith the Lord, and I will turn away your captivity. Right? So, speaking about here, at the end of the 70 years, that he's going to cause God's people to return to this place. Right?
Also es sagt hier am Ende dieser 70 Jahre wird er verursachen, dass Gottes Volk wieder zurück an seinen Ort kehren kann.
Okay, and this is when the third year of Cyrus, when he puts out the decree to allow God's people to return, right?
Das war im 3. Jahr von Kyros, als er dieses Dekret eingesetzt hat, dass Gottes Volk wieder zurückkehren kann.
So when you parallel these two 70 years, one marks the punishment on Babylon, the other one marks when God's people are set free.
Und wenn man diese 72 Jahre parallel setzt, dann markiert das eine die Bestrafung über Babylon und das andere, wenn Gottes Volk freigesetzt wird.
Right?
Richtig?
Okay, so we see that God's people are not fully set free until the civil powers are punished,
Wir
right?
können sehen, dass Gottes Volk nicht vollständig freigesetzt wird, bis die Staatsmacht bestraft wird.
So go to back to Joel,
Geht zurück zu Joel,
chapter 3.
Kapitel 3.
So when you just compare, right? We began by reading Joel chapter 1 and verse 5, and it says, "Awake ye drunkards," right?
Wir haben ja angefangen, indem wir Joel 1, Vers 5 gelesen haben, wo steht, wacht auf, ihr Trunkenen.
Right, and they were to weep between the porch and the altar here,
Wir
right?
sollten hier zwischen Säulenhalle und Altar weinen,
Before this day came,
bevor
right?
dieser Tag kam.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just still questioning why it's marking the day of the Lord is nigh at the same point where we're marking when the day of the Lord is.
Die Frage ist,
What are you talking about?
ist der Tag des Herrn
Where are we
nahe?
marking the day of the Lord is now?
The same place where you
Where,
put the
where, have,
earthquake.
where have we mentioned that this morning?
Put the earthquake.
I've not mentioned that the day of the Lord is nigh there.
When we read about the earthquake, it says, I can't remember where it is. Shaking of the heavens and the earth, the day of the Lord is nigh. It's Joel 2 verse 1, blow the trumpet. And
Yeah, that's here at the beginning, right?
Also Joel 2, Vers 1, wenn sie die Posaune blasen, ist hier am Anfang.
You compared that with great controversy, the next set of quotes, where that voice shakes the heaven and the earth is a mighty earthquake. You place the earthquake there.
No, the first voice is here. There's two voices. The second voice is the one that shakes the heavens and the earth.
Es gibt zwei Stimmen. Also die erste ist hier und die zweite erschüttert Himmel und Erde.
It's
Okay, I just misunderstood. I think you're putting them both at the same point there.
on the first voice, right? He says, "Look up," and that's where we went to Joel 21:20. Your redemption draweth nigh.
Also die erste Stimme sagt, schaut auf, und das sind wir zu Lukas 21, Vers 20 gegangen, wo es sagt, eure Erlösung naht sich.
Okay, when they come up and surround Jerusalem, that's when the day of the Lord is nigh,
Wenn sie heraufkommen, um Jerusalem zu umlagern, dann ist der Tag des Herrn nahe.
right? And that's what we are also shown in Joel chapter 1, right?
Das haben wir auch in Joel 1 gezeigt.
Okay, so when he delivers his people, it marks the point. It says it is done, and it says that voice shakes the heavens and the earth, right?
Wenn sein Volk befreit, dann markiert es, wenn sagt, es ist geschehen, und dann diese Stimme erschüttert Himmel und Erde.
So it's telling you at the beginning of the seventh plague, there's a shaking of the heavens and the earth, where God says it is done, and it's where he delivers his people.
Also
Right?
sagt ihr, dass am Anfang der 7. Plage, da ist eine Erschütterung von Himmel und Erde, wo Gott sagt, es ist geschehen, und er befreit sein Volk.
Okay, but the point I want to make, go to chapter 3.
Jetzt den Punkt, den ich machen will, gehen wir zu Kapitel 3.
Okay, and just I'll refer to this point again. When we began in Joel chapter 1, it began with, in verse 5, it says, "Awake ye drunkards," right?
Wir angefangen haben in Joel, da haben wir Joel 1, Vers 5 gelesen, wo es sagt, wacht auf, ihr Trunkenen.
So the message that came at the beginning was for them to awake,
Die
right?
Botschaft, die zu ihm am Anfang kam, war, wacht auf.
Right? Okay, and when you go to chapter 3,
Wenn wir zu Kapitel 3 gehen,
verse 12,
Vers 12,
what does it say?
was sagt es?
The heathen be wakened.
Let the heathen be wakened, right?
Dass die Heiden aufwachen.
And come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So now there's this message going for the heathen, they are to awake, right?
Jetzt gibt es diese Botschaft an die Heiden, dass sie aufwachen sollen.
And if you just go down in verse 13,
Vers 13.
put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get ye down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. What's near?
Was ist nahe?
The day of the Lord for the heathen.
The day of the Lord for the heathen,
Der
right?
Tag des Herrn für die Heiden.
And just to remind us of that, just go to Isaiah 13.
Zur Erinnerung gehen wir zu Jesaja 13.
So just show we're not saying the wrong things here.
Sicherzustellen, dass wir nicht das Falsche sagen.
Now Isaiah 13 is the punishment on Babylon, right?
Jesaja 13 ist die Bestrafung über Babylon.
If you go to verse 6,
Gehen wir zu Vers 6.
it says, "Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand." Right? It's just about to happen, right?
Der Tag des Herrn ist nahe, es ist kurz davor zu geschehen.
It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flame. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give the light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore will I shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. So when he punishes Babylon, it's the shaking of the heavens and the earth, right?
Wenn er Babylon bestraft, ist es die Erschütterung von Himmel und Erde.
Which is the day of the Lord,
Was der Tag des Herrn ist.
right? Hence, Christ says there's an earthquake at the beginning when he goes into the grave. There's an earthquake when he comes out, right?
Deswegen sagt Christus, es gibt ein Erdbeben, wo er ins Grab geht, und ein Erdbeben, wenn er herauskommt.
And it's again, the heavens and the earth are going to be shaken, right?
Der Himmel und Erde werden erschüttert werden.
So it's the day of the Lord, when he punishes Jerusalem, the day of the Lord punishes Babylon, right?
Das ist der Tag des Herrn, wenn er Jerusalem bestraft, und der Tag des Herrn, wenn er Babylon bestraft.
They're to awake here, they're to awake here.
Sie sollen hier aufwachen und sie sollen hier aufwachen.
Okay. So, okay. So we read there in verse 13, you're to put in the sickle, right?
Und in Joel 2, Vers 3, Vers 13 haben wir gelesen, sie sollen die Sichel reinwerfen.
Okay, so when he comes to punish them here, right, he's putting in the sickle,
Wenn
right?
er kommt, um sie zu bestrafen, da wirft er die Sichel rein.
Okay, so just go back to Revelation 14.
Geht zurück zur Offenbarung 14.
Well, today's, we're just going there, but we've been there many times in the recent past.
So,
So.
heute gehen wir zum ersten Mal dahin, aber wir sind ja vor kurzem da öfters hingegangen.
Okay, so we know that the harvest is typified in the Sunday law,
Wir
right?
wissen, dass die Ernte im Sonntagsgesetz
But
vorausgeschrieben
in all the parables,
in
right?
all den Gleichnissen.
Okay, but it's pointed forward to this time, right? In verse 14.
Es deutet auf diese Zeit vorwärts. Gehen wir zu Vers 14.
It says, And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice. So, verse 15. Who's this angel here?
Wer ist in Vers 15 dieser Engel?
Right, it's Christ, right? Where's he coming from?
Es ist Christus. Woher kommt er?
Right, so if he's coming out of the temple, what's he not doing anymore?
Also wenn er aus dem Tempel rauskommt, was macht er nicht mehr?
Okay,
For one group.
yes, at this point he's not interceding, right?
An diesem Punkt hält er jetzt keine Fürsprache mehr.
And crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. Right? So, we understand that this is right here, right?
Wir verstehen, dass das hier ist.
It puts in this sickle, right?
Er wirft die Sichel rein.
And harvests God's people here, the righteous, right? That's where he delivers them.
Erntet Gottes Volk, also die Gerechten. Da befreit sie.
Okay, and then it says, verse 17.
Vers 17.
And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle, right? So, if we just go to Revelation 8,
Gehen wir jetzt zur Offenbarung 8.
I was making this point last time we looked at this,
Diesen Punkt habe ich letztes Mal gemacht, als wir uns das anschauten.
in verse 1.
Vers 1.
It says, And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar. So what's happening in verse 3?
Was geschieht in Vers 3?
Just read what is there and tell me what's happening.
Also lest einfach, was dort passiert in Vers 3. Steht vor dem
Right.
Altar.
Who's this angel?
Wer ist dieser Engel?
Right, so it's Christ. So if he wasn't standing at the altar, he was somewhere else, right?
Er ist Christus, also wenn er nicht beim Altar stehen würde, wäre er woanders.
Right?
Richtig?
Maris?
Yeah.
Right, so it says another angel came and stood at the altar, right? So he wasn't at the altar, and he comes and stands there, and he does that when the seventh seal begins, right?
Also ein anderer Engel kam und stand am Altar. Das heißt, davor war er nicht beim Altar und jetzt geht er dahin. Das ist, wenn das 7. Siegel
Okay.
geöffnet wird.
So I want to suggest that this is right here,
Ich
right?
möchte vorschlagen, dass das dann hier ist.
Because he's just left he left the temple, right? To go out, and it's marking when he stopped interceding for them. He went out and told the angel, "Thrust in thy sickle,"
Er hat
right?
gerade den Tempel verlassen, also als er aufgehört hat, für sie Fürsprache zu halten, und dann sagt er dem Engel, werf deine Sichel rein.
Okay, but now he's back in there again, right?
Jetzt ist er aber wieder da drin.
And another angel came and stood at the altar having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came up with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire off the altar and cast it to the earth. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings and an earthquake. What was there?
Was gab es?
An earthquake, right?
Ein Erdbeben.
Okay, it's marking now where he's finished his interceding,
Das
right?
markiert jetzt den Punkt, wenn er seine Fürsprache aufgehört hat.
Okay, in verse 6.
Vers 6.
And the seven angels which had the seven trumpets prepared themselves to sound. So it's these typify the seven last plagues, right?
Diese Schatten die 7 letzten Plagen voraus.
But Sister White takes those verses there, right, in verse 5, and she marks it at the close of probation, right?
Ellen White nimmt diese Verse hier in Vers 5 und sie markiert es am Ende der Gnadenzeit.
And this, also, she tells us very clearly that when this point comes, the 7 last plagues begin to pour out,
Sie
right?
sagt sehr klar, dass wenn dieser Punkt kommt, dann fangen die 7 letzten Plagen an, ausgegossen zu werden.
Okay, question. Who are the 7 last plagues pouring upon?
Und eine Frage, auf wen werden diese 7 Plagen ausgegossen?
Go back to Revelation 14.
Gehen wir zurück zur Offenbarung 14.
In fact, no, go to Revelation 18, excuse me.
Gehen wir doch zur Offenbarung 18,
Verse 4.
Vers 4.
It says, I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people. Come out of who?
Woher sollen sie rauskommen?
Babylon, right?
Aus Babylon.
That ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. Right? Right?
Richtig.
So where are the plagues falling on?
Auf wen fallen die Plagen?
On Babylon,
Auf
right?
Babylon.
Okay. So you can see that in the type, the 7th plague begins there, right? And it's marking this first sickle going in, right?
Man kann sehen, im Typus fängt die 7. Plage hier an und die erste Sichel wird reingeworfen.
Okay, then the Lord, he's interceding this last bit, and then go back to Revelation 14.
Dann hält der Herr diese letzte Zeit noch Fürsprache. Und jetzt gehen wir zurück zur Offenbarung 14.
We read in Joel chapter 3 when he goes to punish Babylon that the sickle's going to go in, right?
In Joel 3 haben wir gelesen, wenn er Babylon bestraft, dann wird die Sichel reingeworfen.
Okay, and this is, go back to verse 18 in Revelation 14.
Gehen wir zurück zu Vers 18 in Offenbarung 14.
It says, And another angel came out from the altar which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. Okay, so when he puts the sickle in, what is it marking?
Wenn er die Sichel reinwirft, was markiert es?
The wrath of God,
Der
right?
Zorn Gottes.
And if you just go to chapter 15, verse 1.
Gehen wir zu Kapitel 15, Vers 1.
And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvellous, 7 angels, having the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. Right? So you can see why Sister White takes Revelation 8 and verse 4, I think it was, 5. When he cast down the censer.
Man kann sehen, warum Ellen White Offenbarung 8, Vers 5 nimmt, wo er das Räuchergefäß runterwirft.
He cast down the censer, right? He says, it is finished, right? Or it is done.
Und Und wenn er das Räuchergefäß runterwirft, da sagt sie, dass er eben sagt, es ist geschehen.
We know the quote, the angel with the writer's inkhorn returns to him and says, I've completed my work.
Wir
Right?
kennen auch das Zitat, wo dieser Engel mit dem Schreibwerkzeug jetzt zurückkommt und er sagt, ich habe mein Werk abgeschlossen.
Okay, so it's marking a point where the 7 last plagues are being poured out, right? It's the close of probation.
Markiert dann den Punkt, wenn die 7 letzten Plagen ausgegossen werden. Das ist das Ende der Gnadenzeit.
Okay, so you can see that he doesn't pour the 7 last plagues out until his work of intercession is finished, right?
Also man kann sehen, er gießt nicht die 7 letzten Plagen aus, bis nicht sein Werk der Fürsprache zu Ende ist.
Okay, so go back to this quote.
Gehen wir zurück zu diesem Zitat.
Let's just go to the beginning of it again.
Wir fangen nochmal am Anfang an.
So that voice shakes the heavens and the earth. We're here in the middle, right?
Diese Stimme erschüttert Himmel und Erde, da sind wir hier.
Yes? There is a mighty earthquake such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. The firmament appears to open and shut. The glory from the throne of God seems flashing through. The mountains shake like a reed in the wind, and ragged rocks are scattered on every side. There is a roar as of a coming tempest. What's coming?
Was kommt?
Tempest. The whirlwind is coming, right?
Sturmwind, also dieser Wirbelsturm kommt.
The sea is lashed into fury. There is heard the shriek of a hurricane, like the voice of demons upon a mission of destruction. So there's this hurricane coming to destroy, right?
Da kommt dieser Hurricane jetzt, um zu bestrafen.
This is Christ coming with all his angels, but he's also talking to the fowls of the heaven to come in. They're going to eat the flesh of captains, right?
Also wenn Christus jetzt mit all seinen Engeln kommt, aber bringt auch diese Vögel mit sich, denen er sagt, dass sie das Fleisch dieser Kapitäne und so weiter essen sollen.
Okay, right. So go to, just remember the point, go to Ezekiel 39.
Zur Erinnerung gehen wir zu Hesekiel 39.
Which is speaking about the punishment on Babylon, which is Gog, right?
Spricht über die Bestrafung auf Babylon, der Gog ist.
Verse 17.
Vers 17.
And this whole chapter here is speaking about the punishment on Babylon, right?
Das ganze Kapitel spricht über die Bestrafung auf Babylon.
And thou, son of man, thus saith the Lord God, speak unto every feathered fowl and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves, and come gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice that I do sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink blood. Ye shall eat the flesh of the mighty, and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams, of lambs, and of goats, of bullocks, and all of them fatlings of Bashan. And ye shall eat fat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken of my sacrifice, which I have sacrificed for you. Thus shall ye be filled at my table with horses, and with chariots, with mighty men, and with all men of war, saith the Lord. And I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am the Lord their God from that day forward, and the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they trespassed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of all their enemies, so they fell by the sword. Right? So it's talking about, first of all, Gog and Magog comes up and punishes. The Lord hides his face from them, right?
Und das spricht jetzt zuerst, wie Gog und Magog kommt und sie bestraft, und der Herr verbirgt sein Angesicht vor ihnen.
So Joel is saying, awake, because the day of the Lord cometh, right?
Joel sagt also, wacht auf, denn der Tag des Herrn kommt.
So Gog, Magog does his work here, right?
Gog und Magog macht sein Werk hier.
Right? And now it's, at this point, now he tells all those fowls of the air, come and feast upon them, right?
Dann markiert es diesen Punkt, wenn er zu all den Vögeln des Himmels sagt, kommt und speist euch an ihm.
Which is Revelation 19.
Das
Right?
ist Offenbarung 19.
Yes? Okay. And this is what we are reading here, right?
Das lesen wir auch hier.
So just go back. It says that there is heard the shriek of a hurricane like the voice of demons upon a mission of destruction. And that's these fowls of the heavens, right?
Diese Dämonen auf einer Mission der Zerstörung, das sind diese Vögel des
They've
Himmels.
been given a mission.
Ihnen wird eine Mission
What's
gegeben.
their mission?
Was ist ihre Mission?
To eat the flesh of these kings and horses and chariots, etc. Right?
Also das Fleisch dieser Könige und Pferde und Streitwagen zu essen.
It says the whole earth heaves and swells like the waves of the sea. Its surface is breaking up. Its very foundations seem to be giving way. Mountain chains are sinking. Inhabitant islands disappear. The seaports that have become like Sodom for wickedness are swallowed up by the angry waters. Babylon the Great has come in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Great hailstones, every one about the weight of a talent, are doing their work of destruction. The proudest cities of the earth are laid low. The lordly palaces upon which the world's great men have lavished their wealth in order to glorify themselves are crumbling to ruin before their eyes. Prison walls are rent asunder, and God's people who have been held in bondage for their faith are set free. This is all right here, right? The beginning of the seventh plague, right?
Das findet alles hier statt am Anfang der 7.
It's when
Plage.
Joseph came out of prison, right?
Da kam Josef aus dem Gefängnis.
It says, graves are opened, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Daniel 12:2, right? All who have died in the faith of the third angel's message come forth from the tomb glorified to hear God's covenant of peace with those who have kept his law. They also which pierced him, those that mocked and derided Christ die in agonies, and the most violent opposers of his truth and his people are raised to behold him in his glory and to see the honour placed upon the loyal and obedient. So, which resurrection is this?
Welche Auferstehung ist das?
The special resurrection.
Die
Right?
besondere.
And this is how we had understood it before, right?
So hatten wir das auch zuvor verstanden.
Okay, when that first sickle goes in, it was the special resurrection.
Wenn diese erste Sichel reingeht, ist es die besondere Auferstehung.
Okay. But the special resurrection, right? They are not set. They have not been delivered from this earth yet, right? They're still on this earth. The plagues are still falling, right?
Diese besondere Auferstehung, sie wurden noch nicht von dieser Erde befreit. Sie sind immer noch auf der Erde und die Plagen fallen.
Okay. So, and just saying, this marks this point when Christ physically comes at the end. This is when he says, awake, awake, and he awakes up the general resurrection, right?
Das ist aber am Ende, wenn Christus physisch kommt, dass er dann sagt, wacht auf, und das ist dann die allgemeine Auferstehung.
And that's when Babylon gets its full punishment.
Und
Right?
da hält dann Babylon seine vollständige Bestrafung.
So you can see, just from this illustration, that the seventh plague is this point with this, even though all these things are happening, these punishments are falling, the Lord is trying to save them at the last minute.
Also man
Right.
kann sehen, dass diese 7. Plage diese Zeit darstellt und obwohl all diese Bestrafungen fallen, versucht der Herr sie noch im letzten Moment zu retten.
Okay, so anyway, I hope you can see that, right?
Ich hoffe, ihr könnt das sehen.
Right, the last okay, we'll not go there just now. Just go to, if we turn in our Bibles to Jeremiah chapter 4.
Gehen wir in unseren Bibeln zu Jeremia 4.
With so many things that I feel that we need to look at.
Es gibt so viele Dinge, wo ich merke, dass wir uns anschauen müssen.
Okay, so we understand, right, that we understand that this is the Day of Atonement, right?
Wir verstehen, dass das der Versöhnungstag
When this death decree gets put in place,
wenn dieses Todesdekret an Platz gesetzt
and on the Day of Atonement, you are to sigh and cry. And this is what Joel was telling them to do. Awake and weep between the porch and the altar, right?
Am Versöhnungstag sollst du seufzen und klagen. Das hat auch Joel gesagt. Wacht auf und weint zwischen Säulenhalle und Altar.
And between the porch and the altar is where you're to make this sacrifice, right?
Zwischen Säulenhalle und Altar sollst du dieses Opfer bringen.
The Lord suddenly comes to his temple,
Der
right?
Herr kommt plötzlich zu seinem
He's going to
Tempel.
purge and purify.
Wird reinigen und läutern.
Okay, so, but and we understood this before, on the Day of Atonement, the Lord doesn't begin with the Lord going into the temple. There's some things that he has to do first,
Wir
right?
haben das schon verstanden für einige Zeit, dass wenn der Versöhnungstag kommt, dann geht er noch nicht in den Tempel. Er macht zuerst ein Werk.
Okay, so at least we would understand that when he reveals himself, this is the point where he enters into the temple, right?
Also der Punkt ist, wenn er sich offenbart, das ist der Punkt, wenn er in den Tempel eintritt.
For instance, when he cleansed the temple for the second time, when he enters in there, divinity flashes through humanity, right?
Zum Beispiel, als er den Tempel zum zweiten Mal betreten hat, oder reingegangen ist, da hat er gereinigt, hat besser gesagt, da hat Göttlichkeit durch Menschlichkeit
And
geblitzt.
two classes are immediately separated, right?
Und zwei Klassen werden sofort getrennt.
Yes? Okay, and it's like Daniel, right? Daniel chapter 10.
Das ist wie Daniel 10.
3 weeks, he's praying, and then at the end, the Lord reveals himself to him, right?
3 Wochen betet er und am Ende offenbart sich der Herr ihm.
Right? And what happened when he revealed himself in Daniel 10?
Was ist geschehen, als er sich in Offenbarung 10 offenbart hat?
Yeah, there's two classes, and the other one's fled from before it, right?
Also es gibt 2 Klassen und die eine ist vor ihm geflohen.
Okay, so, but the point is, Joel's telling them to wait here and sigh and cry so that they can come to this point where the Lord will deliver them, right?
Der Punkt ist, Joel sagt hier, wacht auf und seufzt und klagt, dass der Herr dann kommt und sie befreit.
Okay, Jeremiah, right, does the
Jeremia,
same, right?
Jeremia tut dasselbe.
And let's just begin in verse 1.
Lass uns in Vers 1 anfangen.
It says, If thou wilt return, O Israel, saith the Lord, return unto me, and if thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight, then thou shalt not remove. So what's he telling them to do?
Was sagt er ihnen zu tun?
Put away their abominations, right?
Nimmt die Gräuel weg.
And thou shalt swear, the Lord liveth in truth, in judgment, and in righteousness, and the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory. For thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, Break up your fallow ground, and sow not among thorns. Circumcise yourselves to the Lord, and take away the foreskins of your heart, ye men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire, and burn that none can quench it, because of the evil of your doings. So he's warning them about this judgment that's about to come, right?
Warnt sie jetzt vor dem Gericht, das kurz davor ist zu kommen.
Declare ye in Judah, and publish in Jerusalem, and say, Blow ye the trumpet in the land, cry, gather together, and say, Assemble yourselves, and let us go into the defence cities. This is what Joel said, right?
Das hat auch Joel gesagt.
Blow the trumpet, assemble yourselves together. Right?
Blasst die Posaune, sammelt euch zusammen.
Set up the standard towards Zion, retire, stay not, for I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. So who's coming?
Wer kommt?
The false king of the north.
Der
Right?
falsche König des
The
Nordens.
lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make the land desolate, and the cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. And when we come here, right, we see that in the 7th plague, that's all these. I mean, he's going to destroy Jerusalem, but then it comes back upon his head, right? And all the cities, what he has are now getting laid waste, right?
Also wenn man hierher kommt, da hat er Jerusalem bestraft, aber dann kommt das alles auf sein eigenes Haupt zurück. Also diese ganzen Städte von ihm werden zerstört.
It says, "For this, gird you with sackcloth, lament and howl, for the fierce anger of the Lord is not turned back from us. And it shall come to pass at that day, saith the Lord, that the heart of the king shall perish, and the heart of the princes, the priests shall be astonished, and the prophets shall wonder. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, surely thou hast greatly deceived this people and Jerusalem, saying, Ye shall have peace, whereas the sword reacheth unto the soul. At that time shall it be said to this people and to Jerusalem, A dry wind of the high places of the wilderness toward the daughter of my people, not to fan, nor to cleanse, even a full wind from those places shall come unto me. Now also will I give sentence against them. Behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariot shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. So the king of the north, or the false king of the north, is coming against Jerusalem like a whirlwind,
Der
right?
falsche König des Nordens kommt gegen Jerusalem wie ein Wirbelsturm.
And we read that when God's people get delivered here, it now says that there's these demons coming on a mission of destruction, and they're coming like a whirlwind, right?
Wir haben gelesen, wenn Gottes Volk hier befreit wird, dann kommen diese Dämonen auf einer Mission zur Zerstörung und sie kommen wie ein Wirbelsturm
Okay. Against Babylon. Yes.
gegen Babylon.
Verse 14.
Vers 14.
O Jerusalem, wash thine heart from wickedness, that thou mayest be saved. How long shall thy vain thoughts lodge within thee? For a voice declareth from Dan, and publisheth affliction from Mount Ephraim. Make ye mention to the nations, behold, publish against Jerusalem, that watchers come from a far country, and give out their voice against the cities of Judah. Okay, we don't need to read any more from that, right? So the point is that in order for Jeremiah to give this message, in Jeremiah 1 he had to come out of the belly, right?
Der Punkt ist, damit Jeremia diese Botschaft geben kann, musste er in Jeremia 1 aus dem Bauch kommen.
Right? And you have the same in Ezekiel, right?
Dasselbe hat man auch in Hesekiel.
Just go to Ezekiel chapter 33.
Gehen wir zu Hesekiel 33,
Verse 1.
Vers 1.
Again the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, When I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast, and set him for their watchman, if when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people. So what was Ezekiel doing?
Was hat Hesekiel getan?
Blowing the trumpet,
Er
right?
hat die Posaune geblasen.
Joel was blowing the trumpet.
Joel hat die Posaune geblasen.
Jeremiah's blowing the trumpet.
Jeremia hat die Posaune geblasen.
What about Isaiah?
Was war mit
Go
Jesaja?
to Isaiah 59.
Gehen wir zu Jesaja 59.
Mm, 58, excuse me, not 59.
Also Kapitel 58,
That's verse 1.
Vers 1.
It says, Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. So what was the purpose of the trumpet?
Was war der Zweck der Posaune?
Right, when Jeremiah was blowing the trumpet, what was he telling them to do?
Um die Sünden zu zeigen. Als Jeremia die Posaune geblasen hat, was hat er ihnen gesagt zu tun?
Yeah, put away the abominations, right?
Also, nehmt die Gräuel von euch weg.
Joel was saying, weep and lament between the porch and the altar, and confess your sins, right?
Joel hat
Basically.
gesagt, weint und klagt zwischen Säulenhalle und Altar und bekennt eure Sünden.
Okay, so we know that this prophetically 10 days, right?
Wir wissen, dass prophetisch gesehen das hier 10 Tage sind.
This is this time of persecution, right?
Das ist diese Zeit der Verfolgung.
Okay, and we also know that 10 days before the Day of Atonement, the trumpet was to be blown, right?
Und es noch 10 Tage vor dem Versöhnungstag, da musste die Posaune geblasen werden.
Because on the Day of Atonement, the Lord would enter into the temple,
Und
right?
am Versöhnungstag würde der Herr in den Tempel eintreten.
Okay, so if we are marking this right at the end, that's the point where he enters into the temple,
Wir
right?
markieren das ganz am Ende, das ist der Punkt, wenn er in den Tempel eintritt.
Okay, it's the last thing he does when he comes into the temple. When he's clearing out the money changers, that's him removing all the sin, right?
Das ist dann dieser letzte Punkt, wenn er in den Tempel eintritt und diese ganzen Geldwechsler rauswirft, dann reinigt er dich von der Sünde.
Okay, so that's just my thoughts on that at the moment.
Das sind nur meine Gedanken im Moment dazu.
Okay, yes, the last thought I have is that we have the testimony of Joseph, right?
Der letzten Gedanke, den ich noch habe, wir haben ja das Zeugnis von Josef.
Right, so in Joseph, right, Potiphar sets him over his kingdom, right?
Josef, da setzt Potiphar ihn über sein Reich.
His wife says, lie with me, right?
Dann sagt seine Frau, leg dich zu mir.
And then day by day, she's tempting him, and then she comes to the second point, she says, lie with me, right?
Und Tag für Tag versucht sie ihn und dann bei dem zweiten Punkt sagt sie dann wieder, leg dich zu mir.
That's where she steals his garment, right?
Und dann stiehlt sie sein
And
Gewand
he flees.
und er flieht.
So it would bring you to this point, because when you see this point, you were to flee, right?
Das würde dich zu diesem Punkt bringen, weil wenn du das siehst, dann sollst du fliehen.
But we know that it can't be this illustration, because when he had that experience, right, he didn't get brought out of the dungeon, right? He was left in there.
Aber
Right.
wir wissen, dass das nicht diese Erfahrung sein kann, weil als er das hatte, da wurde er nicht befreit aus dem Kerker, sondern er ist darin geblieben.
Right? It was 2 years later, Pharaoh has his dream.
Und es war erst 2 Jahre später, wo Pharao seinen Traum hat.
Okay, and then the butler tells him, and he intercedes for Joseph, and he stands before the king right here, right?
Dann sagt der Mundschenk ihm das und er hält dann Fürsprache für Josef und dann steht er hier vor dem König.
So the question is, where is Joel, Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah raised up? It must be in agreement with Joseph, right?
Und die Frage ist dann, wo werden Hesekiel, Joel, Jeremia, Jesaja aufgerichtet? Das muss ja in Übereinstimmung mit Josef sein.
Okay, so we know that if you take this prophetic narrative, you have the lion, the bear, the leopard, and here you have the fourth kingdom, right?
Und wir wissen, wenn wir die prophetische Erzählung nehmen, haben wir den Löwen, den Bär, den Leoparden und hier ist das 4. Königreich.
Okay, and in the 7 last plagues, right, it's at the 6th plague where the threefold union comes together.
Und in diesen 7 letzten Plagen, da ist es ja in der 6. Plage, wenn die dreifältige Union zusammenkommt.
So, for me, it seems to me the only logical place that could mark this, but that's just a thought at the moment.
Und
Right?
das scheint für mich jetzt der einzige logische Ort zu sein, wo das markiert werden könnte, aber das ist nur ein Gedanke.
But it's where she says, lie with me, right?
Wo sie sagt, leg dich zu.
Right? And this lie with me is a temptation, right?
Dieses leg dich zu mir ist eine Versuchung.
Right? And here you have the threefold union coming together, marked by this fourth beast.
Dort hat man die dreifältige Union, die zusammenkommt. Das ist markiert durch das 4. Tier.
Okay, so at least at this point, I'm more inclined to put it here, right?
Zumindest an diesem Punkt bin ich mehr dazu geneigt, es hier hinzusetzen.
But if anybody's got a better explanation, then I'm open to hear it.
Und wenn jemand eine bessere Erklärung hat, bin ich offen, es zu hören.
There has to be a point where Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, and who else was it? Joel, right, are marked as having their belly experience before they come and give this message here, right?
Es muss ein Punkt sein, wo eben Jeremia, Jesaja, Hesekiel und Joel, die ihre Baucheserfahrung haben, bevor es zu diesem Punkt kommt.
Okay, and Genesis chapter 39 and 40 seems to be the place where you see it marking out this structure. Right?
1. Mose 39 und 40 markiert ist es dort, was uns diese Struktur gibt.
Okay, so that's the problems at least I have in my mind at the moment.
Das sind die Probleme, die ich zumindest jetzt in meinem Verstand habe.
Okay, but nonetheless, we have a clear or a much clearer illustration of what's happening in here, right?
Nichtsdestotrotz, hier haben wir eine viel klarere Darstellung, was jetzt hier drin geschieht.
But it would be nice for me if we could really fathom out exactly where this is,
Es
right?
wäre schön für mich, wenn wir noch genauer herausfinden könnten, wo das ist.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so these are things that we need to study out.
Das sind Dinge, die wir ausstudieren müssen.
Okay, let's close with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet abschließen.
Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
Lord, we thank you that we can see this little box now clearer,
Herr, wir danken dir, dass wir jetzt die kleine Box klarer sehen können.
and these two destructions there,
Und diese 2 Zerstörungen, die dort sind.
and how the Bible testimony shows this pattern.
Und wie das biblische Zeugnis uns dieses Muster zeigt.
And Father, we ask you also for the questions that we still have
Und Vater, wir bitten dich auch für die Fragen, die wir noch immer haben.
with respect, for instance, these prophets that are being raised up, that you would clearly reveal this unto us.
In Bezug auf diese Propheten, wo sie aufgerichtet werden, dass du uns das noch klarer offenbarst.
And Lord, that you would please help us to go through these stories very diligently,
Und dass du uns hilfst, dass wir durch diese Geschichten sehr sorgfältig durchgehen.
and that you would please remind us of all the different stories,
Und dass du uns noch bitte an all diese verschiedenen Geschichten erinnerst.
that we can bring all things together
Dass wir alle Dinge zusammenbringen können.
and then see the picture clearly.
Und dann das Bild klar sehen können.
So we thank you for your help,
Wir danken dir also für deine Hilfe.
and we thank you for all the things that you have shown us so far,
Und wir danken dir für alle Dinge, die du uns so weit gezeigt hast.
and we commit now this day in your hands
Und wir legen diesen Tag jetzt in deine Hände.
and help you and ask you to please help us to have our minds on these things.
Und wir bitten dich, dass du uns hilfst, unseren Verstand auf diese Dinge zu richten.
And we ask and pray in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten und beten in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.